To Budget Night live on Sky News. The politicians joining me on the desk differ dramatically on their policies and politics, but we've gathered these crucial MPs together because they could soon be holding the balance of power if the election polls are correct. Their views are critical to the nation's future. Joining me, Jackie Lambie, Dai Le, Zali Steggall and Max Chandler-Mather. Great to see you all. Zali, I'll start with you. What do you make of the coalition's response on the tax cuts? They're saying it's a hoax and a bribe and they're not going to support it.
Well, I think it's a little bit rich, their response, and I'll be very curious to see what their response is on Thursday night. At the end of the day, Australians are hurting and do want to see bracket creep to start to be addressed, and I think that is what those tax cuts do. They're not going to be significant assistance now for households because they really don't commence for another year, but they are starting to address the bracket creep question and they are addressing everyone. So they're tax cuts, but they're not tax reform that really helps our overall budget.
Jackie Lambie, your thoughts on the tax cuts to begin with, but then the coalition response saying they're not going to support them. What's your read on where things are at?
I just don't listen to the coalition anymore because they've got no answers. They oppose everything unless it's got to do with electoral and helps them out with electoral reforms and with dirty, fit, stinking salmon in Tasmania. But quite frankly, Angus Taylor's been nothing but a train wreck. Even his own party's saying that over the last 36 hours since the Insider's interview, and that has not stopped. They have no plan of attack. We haven't heard anything. The biggest things we've heard out of them was about nuclear energy, which, went down faster than a lead fart, to be honest with you. And, there is no plan. I don't know what Peter Dutton is going to pull out Thursday night, but there is no plan. This is like an opposition in chaos. I still don't think they've worked out. They're in opposition now and not running the country, but it's been hopeless on their side. I think for me, a lot of the budget things are already put out. I'll let you ask the next person on the panel, of course, but that would be my take on it.
I want to ask Dai Le, as member for Fowler, Southwest Sydney, and an area that's obviously not, struggling through the cost of living. This has been a big focus of yours for a number of years now.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of the tax cuts as proposed by the Treasurer, but then the coalition reaction?
Look, can I say, Paul Keating said the lines, is the recession that they have to have, and this is a budget that the government had to have. And obviously this really is an election, obviously, budget. We can see that. There's nothing at all in it for Western and Southwest Sydney. And the $150 energy rebate that's handing out, is just another sugar hit. There's no real structural reform in terms of, how do we ensure that energy is stabilised? And because the energy is the heart of everything. Energy has pushed up costs in terms of manufacturing, in terms of everything. So until we fix that, and the whole transition has really added to the cost of families, working families in Southwest and Western Sydney.
So on the tax cuts, do you welcome those?
It's so tiny. It's just, but it doesn't even give people room to breathe at the moment, from my perspective.
So you think the coalition's right to oppose them?
Look, I don't know what coalition's going to... that's the coalition. I can only speak for my electorate and what my people are feeling, and this is not going to really ease the pain of the cost of living that we're all experiencing.
Max Chandler-Mather, it's a tiny... Treasurer calls it a top-up tax cut.
Yeah.
It does add to the further debt issues that we face as a nation. What's the Greens' position on it?
Well, this is a missed opportunity, this budget, to crack down on the 1/3 of big corporations in Australia who pay $0 in tax. The reality is this budget will see a nurse pay more tax than some of the biggest multinational corporations in Australia. We're talking big corporations like Santos or Chevron, who will make billions of dollars exporting our gas and often get away with paying $0 in tax. Now, if the government was willing to take those corporations on, we could raise enough revenue to do things like get dental and mental health into Medicare and help millions of Australians with genuine structural cost of living relief. And I think this 70 cents a day in 15 months' time is frankly more tinkering around the edges. Now, the coalition have absolutely nothing, but Labor need to realise there are millions of people in serious pain right now that need more than 70 cents a day.
Sally, what's your read on, you got the tax cut plan, and as I think everyone's agreed it's a very small amount, but the debt bomb that the nation faces, interest repayments of $40 billion a year, that's growing. Are your constituents worried about that? And is the case made to you that a lot of this stuff is unaffordable?
Well, I think think we have to be careful with that language because at the same time we know there has to be fiscal discipline in spending, and the areas are what do we cut versus do we grow the pie. So I think the focus needs to be on productivity. So I do welcome the government accepting the recommendation around the non-compete clauses, which is not a sexy announcement, but for small to middle income earners, it is projected to make a significant increase in productivity and revenue. But I do agree, the government still is not tackling the big issue of reform. And for example, we are massively assisting still fossil fuels. Fossil fuel through the tax credit, through the failed PRRT, is not delivering revenue to the Australian people. So if we really want to improve that deficit bottom line, they have to address those inequities in the budget. There are massive losers in this budget, and protecting nature is a big one, and that ultimately comes back to our productivity and GS.
Is that you're referring in part to the salmon farming?
Well, there's a salmon farming, but there is no investment in this budget for protecting environment. There is nothing for an environmental protection agency. There is very little in there, and there's nothing for climate resilience.
What's your view on that salmon farming?
My take is poor Tanya Plebiscite that's done so much work. It's nearly like, and I'm going to call it tonight, is that he's put her so far in a corner and reduced her power in the last 3 years because she would have been close to leading that Labor Party, and it's only like he's targeted her to take her out. I have to be brutally honest with you. I feel very sorry for Tanya Plebiscite having that portfolio and the way she's been treated over the last few years, because I can tell you where salmon farming was about 3 months ago when he came up over the top of her. So it's been really sad.
Do you support what he's doing and what the government's doing, though, in terms of protecting the industry?
In protecting the environment?
Protecting the salmon farming industry.
Oh, absolutely not. You are wasting $37 million. This is a Tony Burke decision who decided to up that tonnage by a bloody great deal in 2012. They're now coming back to clean up Tony Burke's mess out of the taxpayers' money. Why those multinationals, those fishing companies out there haven't paid tax for 3 years. Okay, and that's what we're doing. So you tell me.
Are you worried about the debt bomb that I spoke to Zali about before? I want to get your thoughts.
You know what? I'm not worried about the debt bomb. What I'm worried about is the money's not targeted well. When we've spent $4 billion and we don't even have a piece of a submarine so far, when you're giving all of us tax cuts and energy cuts, and down here the gap between the rich and the poor is getting further apart, we have a real problem. I'm sorry, but welfare in this country and the things like NDIS, we're for the worst people in this country. It's not like everybody wants a welfare handout now. And that is really unfair, because while we're taking that money, we could be tripling their load down this end and making sure that's paid forward. We don't need it.
Is this spending reckless, as former Prime Ministers have called it?
I think responsible spending is in question. I think that giving $150 to every single Australian and not means testing it, it's just, to me, that's irresponsible, because somebody on 200,000 K a year don't need that $150 rebate. So if they actually spend the time to really do it properly, then we can give to those who are low on socioeconomic a better support. But yeah, and nothing in it for small businesses as well, by the way.
Oh my God, don't talk about small business. They've killed them.
Yeah.
I thought they were, when they say they're not the friend of small business, what they should have said, they're absolutely the enemy of small business. Yeah. I have never seen anything like this.
I want to get Max Chandler, 30 seconds, we're almost out of time, but your thoughts on those issues, small business